Welcome to Movie Monday after power has been restored to our state.
Woo!
Man, that sucked. Okay, well, Valen flew solo last week, but we are now back, and we came back to If Beale Street Could Talk.
It's the silence.
I wasn't sure if I cut out. I don't know, I feel like that was very appropriate because this movie is very, like, heavy.
Extremely heavy.
Yeah. It's like, is it straight up bad? Like, it's not exactly that simple.
It's
No.
complicated.
Yeah.
Like, it's life.
It's kind of like... I think the music is a good way to describe it, because the music in this movie, like the background tracks and everything, are really good. And there's obviously like the sense of like despair about the situation and everything, but there's like these small light like high-pitched moments. High-pitched is not the right word, but there's these like light moments in the music that kind of give like a little bit of hope to it.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, did anyone die? No. It's not like your traditional like sad romantic story where like some one or both it's not a Romeo and Juliet story. Where, oh no, they're dead now. Look at them lying on the ground. No, it's not like that. But it's sad in how realistic it is, but also it has that tiny bit of hope that you would always want to have when you're going through a situation like that too.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, I was gonna kind of bring up the score as well, actually, because from what I can tell, the majority of it, like, okay, well, there's certain like actual music tracks that are played, right? But in terms of like the actual, again, the background score, I think it's like basically just one piece.
I think so too.
So, but it's just played kind of different moments, and yeah, I really do like that piece. I think it's the atmosphere and the mood and the tone of everything. It sort of fits it really, really well.
Yeah.
And I happen to notice, and this film was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, and one of them was Best Original Score. So,
Haha.
Win?
I don't think so. I don't think. Double
Oh,
check. But
damn.
yes, that was definitely something where I was like, I wonder if anyone else feels this way. Oh, yep, okay.
No, I love the score.
Yeah, 'cause it's very simple, but yeah, I don't know. It works really well.
Yeah. It's kind of like how the previous movie we saw was October Sky, and the score in there was also really, like, I don't know, it's just...
I think it just carries the mood well. You don't have to have this giant, like, big, extravagant, flourishing score as long as it says something.
Yeah.
And it says a lot. It's used throughout the whole movie, and it has so many emotions in it.
I guess the other thing too is that I know this was one thing that we said about the Titanic, where they kept reusing the same score, like, but I feel like here it worked because the moments that the music came up in, like, it worked tonally, while in Titanic it was kind of like they kept repeating the Celine Dion song, but there were some moments where it was kind of put there seemingly because they didn't have anything else to put there.
Yeah.
Because they used the budget on, like, all the special effects.
Yeah, which, Titanic is still, like, a good movie and stuff like that. It's just that here I think it was the utilizing one track thing definitely worked much better, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also, something I like as well, because you said that it's like it feels kind of like a very realistic sort of scenario and setting, and one thing that I think lends to that is that there's no like reveal, right? There are no like, oh, this was the secret behind it all or whatever, right? It was like you're left in the dark with a lot of the details still by the end of everything. And then also, yeah, like for example, I feel like this would in another movie they could totally be like, oh, the person who actually did it is this other character that like you didn't know about. You know what I mean? Like that would
It's
be like
actually
a thing.
the police officer.
Yeah, like that would be a very common thing to do, but like they didn't because again you don't need to do that for this story, right? So yeah, and also what's kind of interesting is that like there's of course the two main characters, and you know, but like and some of their family members, but like there's a lot of people who just are kind of like they come in for their little part of the story and then they go away. And like oftentimes you might think that would be a bad thing because it's like why are you introducing these random characters? But like they don't feel it doesn't feel that weird because again, like you said, it feels realistic where it's like, yeah, if you're living your life and doing stuff, like here's a person that kind of comes into your life briefly and then they go away for a while, right?
Yeah.
And that's just how it works. So because for example, what I'm specifically thinking of is Fonny's mother and sisters, right? Because from the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, are these going to be like, you know, really important characters? Now it's like, I don't know if I can stand this woman if I see her anymore. So, but then they never show up again. And it's like, okay, but they didn't need to show up again, right?
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing where like it seems like it wouldn't work, but it does, in that sense. So. Stuff like that I thought was interesting in how it was handled. Again, it's different from like a standard, you know, movie narrative structure. But it does this again that and also speaking of narrative structure, this movie's not like strictly told in chronological order, but
no,
it doesn't come across as confusing.
Yeah,
because we've
I
definitely
think the
had
way
some
that
movies.
They cut it up actually worked in its benefit because somehow it still felt seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The narration, like, usually I know we all find narration in movies to be kind of, like, jarring, but here I think it actually worked too.
Yeah. I was not bothered by it as I normally am and point out frequently. I felt like it kind of just, I guess, added to the desperation of the situation too.
Yeah. And because I know
Also
we've seen
very...
well, because we've seen other things that are like not in order, and I remember it's like feels kind of unnecessarily confusing or like what's the point? But yeah, because again, like if you were to do this in order, the actual like I mean, again, well, conflict doesn't sound like the right word, but the whole sort of thing going on in the story is again, he's in jail, they got to get him out, right? That's sort of the main thing. But like, if you actually tell this in chronological order, that would only be present for like the last like third of the movie. So it would feel weird to have like, you know, not really a conflict going on, not really an issue that has to be resolved. So yeah, it works that way well. So yeah, it is though, like what you said about like the tone and the mood and our initial silence at the very beginning. It is kind of hard to like, okay, then how do I like rate it? Because again, it's not a movie that you're like, I'm happy I saw that. It's not, you know, yeah.
It definitely makes you think, and I think it's very relevant to what's happening right now too.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the reason I replaced the previous the previous movie that was in the slot with this movie, because I saw like what was going on in the world, and then I like looked at a list and I was like, oh, this seems interesting. It's a love story. It's a love story.
What's also
it is a
really
love story.
Sad. It's a really sad love story.
Yeah. I really like the ending for this. Well, I'm not happy that he didn't get out of jail, but and the way that the movie ended, I think, was a good place for it to like end and stuff, where it's kind of like they kept talking about how he wanted to have a family dinner at a table that he made and stuff like that, and just like seeing them eating together from like the vending machine and just sitting down at like a prison table and stuff like that, it kind of, even though there's like nothing going on, like really going on in that scene, it kind of makes you think about like the entire movie and everything that led up to this, where he was basically framed for a crime that he never did. And
It
yeah.
happens kind of frequently in this country, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it is also kind of interesting that like the racial aspect of this movie is obviously there. But it's not like every single plot point is baked around it. Right? Because like for example, you know, the whole thing about like someone, you know, being accused of rape and then the fallout from that, like that's not, you know, again, I'm not trying to argue that like there's not a racial bias in the justice system in that argue, but I'm just saying you could make a story around that without the racial aspect here. It's just the racial aspect is added on top of that, but they add in, you know, the discrimination in terms of finding the apartment, and of course the police officer seeing them in the store, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's a way where it's like it doesn't come off as like, you know,
in your face.
Right. It's not like, oh, the movie is just trying to show you how bad. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. So yeah. So I think that works. And it's also kind of interesting because like, I mean, when you start talking about the final scene, you made me think of this. Because that final shot, it just sort of holds on them eating for like a long time. And that's kind of true for a lot of the shots, that it sort of holds it for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it does make the movie like have a pretty slow pace, but I don't think it's like too slow.
Yeah.
It definitely fits. It does. I do feel like the movie does feel a bit longer than it actually is, but it's not like, oh, I sat here for so long. You know what I mean? So I think it works for what it's doing.
Yeah.
Because this is it's a little bit less than 2 hours, but I actually think it feels a little bit longer. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's an observation.
I'm just still thinking through everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for putting this on the list, man.
Yeah. Actually, I guess thank the list that I found it on, because I like heard of this movie previously, but I like hadn't thought about it afterwards, and I saw the list and I was like, oh, okay, this looks interesting.
Yeah, I'd heard the title, but I almost certainly would not have ever seen this otherwise, so.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, anything else to mention, or should we try to place a number onto this?
I guess we're going to try to place a number onto this.
This is hard to rate.
It's very hard, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I will say to, if you're interested in watching, definitely recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely,
Yeah.
like, and even if you think, like, you know, oh, I wouldn't be interested in some, like, you know, racial angled romance commentary movie, whatever, you know, as long as you're, like, know what you're going into in terms of that, I don't think you could, like, dislike it unless you just know for a fact that you would, like, you know, not like this kind of movie at all. But, you know, this is not a movie I would seek out, but I liked it, so. But to give it, though.
I think I'm going to give it a 10.
Ooh.
Because I can't find anything inherently that I, like, disliked about the movie. And then, like, as a movie or, like, anything. And then the score. It's a movie that I think I will be thinking about a lot and stuff. And I think that deserves, like, a 10 score.
Impressive.
You know, I don't usually give 10s.
Oh, it's only your third 10.
I know.
I'm still thinking.
I think I'll give it a 9. Like what Tara said, I can't think of anything that I don't like about it. But I don't know. I guess the 10 score is just kind of it's very much like a personal emotional connection, and I can't exactly say that, but I definitely can't really pinpoint anything that I think is bad about it. I think 9 works for me.
I'm probably the notorious one to do this, but I'll probably also give it a 10 because I think actually my favorite character is Tish's mom because her mom reminds me of my mom a little bit, where she's like kind of like overprotective, but she'll go out of her way to do things. So, like the whole time I was watching like the movie, I was like, the mom reminds me of someone. And now I know. Now I can say who it is. It's my mom.
Definitely a different movie from many others.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, speaking of different movies,
None of us know what we're getting into.
well, before that, Mai, you have to say what you replaced this with.
Yeah, so I replaced this realistic, heartfelt movie with Sword of the Stranger, which is a samurai movie. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that it's a samurai movie and it's animated.
Okay, I was about to say, is it animated? Because I don't even know. Okay.
I heard it was good, so that's why, I mean, as much as I'm like a sucker for sad movies, I like samurai movies too.
We definitely have a very interesting emotional roller coaster ahead of us.
But
the next 10 movies.
Yeah, but for that, we do have one last film in our last set, and it is the one that nobody knows anything about. Oh, I need to mention the thing I said before, where like someone brought up this movie online in regards to a topic.
Oh yeah.
Shit, what was it?
Oh god, you forgot.
Okay, I think it was about I think it was police violence.
Oh, well.
I think that was the topic.
Right.
So yes.
What you're saying,
place where it's like follow.
Yes.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that the train. I don't know what the connection between October Sky and If Beale Street Could Talk is, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think October Sky takes place in like the 50s.
Yeah, and this was 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know.
20 years later in the same country? I don't know.
I guess, well, okay, no. October Sky was 4 white people getting screwed over by systemic issues, and so this is poor black people getting screwed over by systemic issues.
Okay. I guess there we go.
But yeah, so we're watching next is Brazil. We don't know anything about it except
police is going to be possibly the connection.
I think so. Now I feel like that's like I can't believe I forgot. I was like, I'm not gonna forget this. It's like really obvious, but I'm like, oh crap. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Also, I think this film is like some sort of like sci-fi something.
Oh great.
But
okay.
I don't know.
So I might hate it.
We've already said that we might hate it for a while because we don't know anything about it. But I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously pessimistic.
Okay, fair. I guess that's fair.
I guess I have to just be cautiously
you have to be neutral.
You're just cautious, yeah.
Haven't I normally the neutral one?
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why this is only my third 10.
Well, on to uncharted waters.
Yep.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye.